The Binance hack. $40 million gone. CC talking about backrolling Bitcoin. What actually happened? Hey and welcome to today's video. My name is Julian. On my channel, it's all about making you crypto fit. So that means we talk about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, decentralization, but also entrepreneurship and mindset. And today I want to talk about a recent occurrence that I commented a lot on Twitter, and that tweet was retweeted by a lot of people. And it was about this $40 million hack on Binance. Now, we don't really know exactly what has happened. I do understand that Binance and CC are a bit cryptic about it because they don't want to release too much information for the hackers. Maybe there's some more vulnerabilities that they don't want to release and they don't want to discuss. But what we know is that a few days ago, some hackers somehow attacked the entire platform. They got access via over API keys, two-factor authentication, passwords, all of this. If you're using Binance, please reset that, renew that. That's going to be really important. Anyways, they were able to withdraw over 7,000 Bitcoins, which is an insane large amount. $40 million at that price. And now the hackers have been shuffling around with the Bitcoins. At the moment, it's still trackable. A lot of the other exchanges have committed to not letting these hackers deposit their Bitcoins at their exchanges. But yeah, crazy story. And yeah, it's really kind of, well, all over the place there. Because obviously, a couple of questions. How in the world is this happening? Now, Binance said this is only 2% of their entire funds. That's their hot wallet. So anyways, the kind of everything there should be kind of covered. Also their Save You, their customer kind of backup fund that they're compiling over time can or should be able to cover all of that. But still, there's a lot of questions in the air. Was this an inside job? Was this a regular hack? Was this a con game set up over the long run? What does this have to do with Tether at the moment when Binance has so much Tether? You can let me know if you want in the comments below. What is your opinion on this? I'm going to give you a bit of my opinion now, but I would be interested to hear your opinion on this. Do you think this was a regular hack? Do you think it was an inside job? Do you think it's part of a larger con? Let me know. Would be very interested to hear. So let me know in the comments below. Let's kind of look into what happened afterwards. What happened afterwards was that CC went and wanted to be really close to the community. I think really kudos to him. This is super important. I think very few leaders dare to do this. He did that. He went close to the community, did an AMA. And during this AMA, there was this discussion on whether Binance should backroll Bitcoin back to this hack. And there was a huge confusion on what this actually meant, was this possible, and how this actually worked. So this is what I want to kind of put in a little bit. So basically what would happen is, if you think about it, during this time when the Bitcoin chain grows, more Bitcoin get put into the system. But this is actually not that relevant. What's more relevant is the cost that is being used to kind of mine during this time. And so this cost has to be covered. And this cost many times gets very close to this point in how many Bitcoin get released to the system because everyone wants to mine positively. So that's why the hashing power adapts to the Bitcoin price. If Bitcoin goes up, there's more hashing power coming in. If the price goes down, the hashing power goes down. So what Binance could have done is they could have calculated, okay, how much energy was burned during the same time, and could I bribe the miners in kind of removing this one transaction and then kind of rolling up everything from scratch. And I did some calculation, and you can calculate yourself. Obviously, it depends a lot on how many blocks get mined since this time, so how much hash power was used, what's the electricity cost. At the same time, game theoretically, how much incentive did these miners get from the block reward? So at the end, I kind of calculated it's probably between $20 to $25 million up until this point when the webinar or this Q&A was happening. So on the one hand, they lost $40 million right from the hack. It would have been $20 to $25 million to backroll. Now, obviously, some people might think, well, wouldn't it be totally cool then for Binance to try to backroll? Well, but that's only the mathematical possibility. Practically, I'm not sure if any of the miners who invested so much money into this ecosystem with all the mining would go and say, yeah, give me this money. I'm going to completely destroy trust into the system. And in return, give me this money and I'm going to backroll it for you. I don't think they would have done it because then afterwards Bitcoin would have crashed, just like what happened in 2016 with Ethereum when they forked between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So I think the actual number to bribe would have been way higher than the $40 million. I would have assumed it's probably going to be at least twice as much. So you would be talking about probably between $40 to $50 million at this point to actually bribe enough miners. Now, don't forget, the longer this takes, it goes exponentially up, more difficult in order to actually bribe anyone. So I would have really thought if you hadn't, one would have to do this within the first couple of hours, and then it's still really questionable if it would have worked because you need to coordinate everything. But talking about this after days, the odds of this being possible, in my opinion, go close to zero. And you could see that afterwards, CC went online and said, yeah, we decided not to do it. I thought this was a joke, because at the end, he realized he couldn't do it. It was just not possible. And it was ridiculous to even kind of speak it up. But I think CC also doesn't have maybe the technical knowledge to understand what was possible there. And he kind of admitted that when he said he needed some background and some feedback there. If you want, let me know in the comments below, what do you think he should have done? Should he have backrolled it, or should he not have? I think interesting question. I don't even think it was a decision. I think it was, well, the decision was made for him in that kind of case. And obviously it shows also how resilient Bitcoin is. I think many people who tried to attack Bitcoin, who are invested in altcoins or maybe no coiners, they went and said, oh, look at Bitcoin, they could have backrolled it. They could not have. So I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, I'm not, but I'm just a realist. And of course, we can discuss a lot of things, but just because we discuss those things doesn't mean that it makes it possible. Discussing something doesn't make it more likely, or it doesn't make it more possible. Discussing, yes, it might make it more likely, but the possibility or probability of it happening are still the same. It's still the same difficulty whether we discuss something or not. And I think many people tend to forget that just because these things were discussed doesn't mean at all that that there's any probability of it happening. I would have thought the probability is less than 0.1%. Just because the odds and the game theoretical odds are so stacked against it. But anyways, this was my kind of calculation and my kind of research. But then obviously the final question is what actually happened. And there was a lot of weird stuff happening. I think over a year ago, during the summer, also 7,000 Bitcoin got hacked and got stolen. Exchanges tend to have a tendency when the price of Bitcoin goes up that suddenly there are these weird attacks, or you never really know it. Was this an outside job? Was it an inside job? I think these are always some really weird kind of questions. And I'm not accusing Binance of doing an inside job. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. Personally, I think it was a regular hack and people just trying to put puzzle pieces together that actually don't fit. Trust me, I have seen this on myself when people try to do this on me, and most of the times, right, there's nothing behind it, but people just love to have these kind of theories. So I think that's always a bit important to always kind of keep in mind there, and that's kind of, to me, the picture. In the long term, you can see it on the price, and I'm going to make a separate video on this. I think Bitcoin really got out of this very strong. I think there's a lot of faith and confidence in the system at the moment. So yeah, this looks really good. I hope this kind of explains how all this was happening. If it does, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you get some value out of this. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll hope to see you at the next video. Yours truly, Julian.